What's up, guys? This is a bit of a emergency video. The markets have been bleeding out all weekend, and I know that usually when that happens, people want a bit of an update before the week starts so that they know what to look out for when Asia opens, UK, US tomorrow, and all that sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to do now. We're going to go and take a look at the weekend price action. I'm going to go through some things to look out for. Obviously, being the weekend at the time that I'm filming this, it's impossible to say what direction I think the price will go when the market opens. But what I can do on a Sunday video is let you know what to look out for in advance. So that is the goal for this video. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. This is kind of live and unscripted. I'm going to go through the live price action with you. So be sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Let's head straight over to the Bitcoin chart. Now, this is the price action we've been experiencing all weekend. We had the typical Friday trap set in the US session that caused a bit of panic, and as the market has, well, as the traditional markets have been closed over the weekend, crypto market has continued to bleed out. Now, having a look at the daily time frame to start with, one thing I want to point out is that over the last 12 months, we have seen a new month start most of the time with a retracement, but we've still maintained the bull market. So we're kind of in that window now. It's the beginning of a new month. Price is currently retracing. It feels worse because it's a weekend. So on weekends, you really only have panic retail sellers. So we're waiting to see if this settles when the market actually really does open. But all of these red lines here are the beginning of a new month, and the blue boxes are all the times that the month opened and headed down first before we rebounded. And we seem to be experiencing that again today. Now, this was a chart that I posted on my Twitter earlier. I actually did this yesterday on my Twitter, and the levels that I pointed out were between the daily time frame 50 EMA and this point of control here at about 97K. That's kind of the range that I think would be okay if we're going to rebound next week. But to be honest, right now it doesn't look that great. This candle here is starting to break below the 50 EMA, and there doesn't really seem to be any signs of slowing down. And so this would have a lot of people thinking, oh, is this it? Is this the beginning of the big retracement, you know, the big scary 40% retracement that we see in bull markets? I don't like to make those decisions based off weekend price action. So I don't want to say, yes, this is it. This is where we're getting the really big retracement, because the market can really surprise us tomorrow when the real money that moves markets step back in. One positive I will say is that when price trends on a weekend, it forms a CME gap. So there will be a gap being created today above the current price, and they will come back for that eventually, which may cause a retracement. At that point, we have to decide if that retracement is going to lead to further downside or if it's going to hold to this current trend and move out to the upside. On the 4-hour time frame, we are at risk of changing structure here. So we have this trapping volume formation all the way through here where we had the spike high. That's where the volume got trapped. We've never returned there, and we are in danger right now of potentially creating a lower low. Where the price seems to be settling right now is this green vector right here, and there's a lot of liquidity in that area, and we also do have some buy orders waiting in this area. We need to see if they hold and cause the bounce, but to be honest, they're not that big. So if we go and have a look at those, actually, as I'm filming this, they've gotten even less. So there's one right where price is right now at 98.5. Underneath we have 98, and then we have 96.8. Now these were bright red prior to me filming. When they turn white, that means there's less orders, meaning that people who wanted to buy at those levels are now not feeling so confident and they're canceling their orders. So that means there's not really much to stop the pressure to the downside. And at these sorts of levels, I really wouldn't expect a bounce here. So just be prepared. It could get worse than what it is right now. I'm not sure if you notice that that is changing as price is heading down. It's changing from red to pink to white. That's the orders getting pulled and then placed back in and then pulled. They're kind of unsure as to whether or not they want to be buying at this level. These are our big, large kind of whale orders. And so, yeah, if price starts to head down at speed, they usually do pull those limit orders because they get worried that there's too much momentum and that their buys aren't going to cause a bounce. Not to mention all of this is bot trading. It's all algorithmic. So it's not a human sitting there canceling their orders. It's a computer deciding this volume's too large. I probably can't counteract it. cancel the order. Now, if we can't hold around these levels, we still have these levels down here that buyers have been waiting for a long time. I've mentioned these on this channel before, and I'll mention them again in case it's the first time you're hearing them. They're sitting at 90,300 to 91,200. So what that means is that if price cannot bounce where it is right now, then it looks like there's a chance of revisiting these lows down around here. Now, if I go back out to the daily, what you'll see about those orders is that they are simply just orders waiting at the bottom of the daily range. So like I said, unless we hold where we are like right now, which is not looking like we will, there is a chance that we may come back to the bottom of the daily range. Now, on the 1 hour time frame, we can see our levels a lot more clearly. Last week, the way the pattern went, we had the weekend trap here, we had that 1 day false move week beginning, then we had a fairly volatile week with our 3 pushes to the upside. The M formation was created here, and that led to our first drop through here, consolidation. We're in the second drop now, and it could be that a third drop is yet to come. So once all this liquidity in this area here gets taken out, that's between about 96.5 to 99. So some of it has already been taken out. It's on the way to being taken out as I'm filming this. But once that gets taken out, we can refresh and see what is the next closest levels. But to me, it wouldn't make sense. If we take all of this out and we don't bounce here when the market opens, it wouldn't make sense to me why we wouldn't then come back to the bottom of the range. It doesn't make sense to stop kind of halfway through it. So yeah, if we don't get a significant bounce out of this area, I would be expecting back to the bottom of the daily range. Now, what does that mean for your altcoins? I know nobody wants to hear this, but we have to talk about it. If we're going to be in the market, we just have to accept it. Looking at the Bitcoin dominance, we're still in this W formation, but we're still bumping up against resistance, and it's still just decision time with the decision not yet being made. So if this dominance breaks out to the upside, but the Bitcoin price continues to drop, your altcoins are going to drop even further. And I know that's what most people can't handle because the altcoins already have not been performing very well and they really don't want to see any further drops, but it is what it is, and that's the market. What can I say, you know? So as a trader, it's going to be great for short positions. As an investor, it could hurt a little, but if you know how to trade, if you know how to open short positions, you can open short positions to hedge against your losses in your spot portfolio. So there are ways to sort of reduce the losses that you might be going through, and if you don't know how to trade, then obviously it's a lot more difficult, but that's a strategy that I'm doing right now to hedge against any potential spot losses until we can get a bounce and I can sell out of them, because I don't really want to be holding alts right now. But I'm actually going to do a real long deep dive video about that this week, because I've been doing a lot of research on the past cycles, the current cycle, and trying to really disprove my own theory that altcoins are only worth trading this cycle. They're not really worth holding, and I can't disprove my theory. So I'm going to show you that evidence that I came up with, but I also, just to have a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, I do think that there's a possibility the behavior that I discovered may change further down the track, just not yet. So yeah, stay tuned. If you aren't subscribed, consider subscribing now and turn the bell notification on, because that video is going to take a long time for me to put together, and I'm planning to get it out either tomorrow or Tuesday. But today I figured you guys would prefer price action, so I decided not to cover it today. But it's definitely, if you want to be involved in the crypto markets for the rest of this cycle, then I think it's something you definitely need to know. So I will get into that in a future video. But getting back to this, like I said, if next week this dominance breaks out to the upside, but Bitcoin price continues to the downside, just prepare for more pain with your altcoins. I'm not going to tell you what to do with them. You're, I'm sure, a big girl or a big boy. You can decide yourself. But the other thing is, if this dominance does this instead and we break to the downside, then what we have to do is look at what the Bitcoin price is doing. So actually, let me show you this. This will make it easier for you to understand. So this is a situation that we have. You can see here I explained earlier, if the Bitcoin dominance increases, which you can see in the left column, in the middle column is the Bitcoin price and the right column is the result of what will happen to your altcoins. So if the Bitcoin dominance is increasing, but when the market opens, the Bitcoin price continues to decrease, that's when you're going to have that scary drop in your altcoins. But the second scenario, being the Bitcoin dominance actually breaks down, there's two things we have to consider. So if the Bitcoin dominance breaks down when the market opens this week and the Bitcoin price breaks down as well, continues to break down, the alts will be fairly stable. They might drop with Bitcoin, but they won't be as bad as or as catastrophic as what we're seeing over the last week or so. However, if the Bitcoin dominance does break that trend and head to the downside, but Bitcoin bounces, you're going to get your altcoin pump at that point in time. Now, that's probably exciting to you and you probably want that. And so what that means is that when we go back to the chart, that the Bitcoin dominance here would have to start following this red line. It would have to start to break down whilst the Bitcoin price actually bounces and moves to the upside. Now, that's what we all want, right? Because we don't want our alts to bleed any further. But if that does happen, I will still warn you that any altcoin pump will probably be short-lived. And so we might start seeing the, alt season is here. That was the final shakeout. We might start seeing that stuff again. Again, like I said, wait for my deep dive video. It's going to allow you to make a much more intelligent decision. But what I will say is that if we are lucky enough to get the dominance down, the Bitcoin price bounce and the alts bounce, then we could get some really good trades on those altcoins. So this is definitely one to watch. But we also need to watch a few other things. So first, the USDT dominance is still in the range, but that lower high that I spoke about on my last video, I wanted to see this lower high lead to a breakdown, and that's not what's happening. It's changing trend. We now have a higher low and looks like it's trying to make its way back up now. So that means people are risk off. Makes sense over a weekend. Like I said, I don't pay huge attention to this stuff usually over a weekend, but it's something to monitor when the market opens. Does this continue to rise? Because it's telling you that people think it's too risky to be in crypto market right now and they're moving to stable coins. In addition to that, we have to look at the total market cap. Now, this one is excluding the top 10. So I kind of use this to know whether it's worth being involved in shit coins, essentially. And we were hoping for this sort of a pattern to come out of this if we come back down to this support. It's still in the potential process of creating this side, so it's got more work to do. But right now, it's heading down, meaning people are not putting their money in altcoins. And so maybe neither should you if that's what you're thinking about doing it. But you need to see a bounce here if we're to get involved in altcoins. And the one that really doesn't look good is the total 2. And total 2 is the total crypto market cap minus Bitcoin. So again, everything else other than Bitcoin. And starting to look fairly decent because we're in this symmetrical triangle after this breakout to the upside. If it was to hold, we would expect that it was going to break out more next. But when we zoom in on it, again, it looks like it's really on the verge of breaking down very soon. It is possible. I don't really pay much attention to diagonal trend lines, but you could also draw it like this and that would be valid, which would mean it hasn't broken out yet. But, it's fairly close to doing that. And so again, this is one worth keeping an eye on. And at this point in time, it's a pretty strong signal not to get involved in altcoin long positions anyway, until the bleed stops, essentially. The other thing too that you're going to have to watch when the market opens is the stock market, because this could be a reason why we're seeing what we're seeing happen in crypto. Just remember, stock market closes on the weekend. So if people are feeling bearish in the stock market, they can't sell out of their stocks. And the only thing they can do to de-risk is sell out of crypto. That's why we tend to see crypto moves on weekends when there's panic selling going on, because it's, like I said, it's the only thing people can de-risk on. We are at risk on the S&P of basically a double top right now. And we're still holding above the EMAs at the time the market closed, but if the market opens bearish here, so definitely keep an eye when the market opens on this. But if this opens bearish, crypto is going to have more downside to go. And considering we have counted 2 levels, it would make sense that there would be more downside when the market opens before there is any chance of a bounce. And so what that means is for this video here that I put out earlier this week with some short-term trading setups, most of these are probably invalidated by now. So I did put the invalidations in this video. I try to always do that because I know that a lot of people on YouTube will tell you buy zones and things like that, and then they never come back to those trades. And so you never know when to sell and you end up being a bag holder. So in this video, I did tell you invalidation zones and if something certain happened on each of those setups not to take the trade. I would bet, I haven't looked at them, but I would bet that probably most of those invalidations have happened by now. So I think HBAR was one of the trades, and as you can, yeah, I remember now. So as you can see quickly, HBAR was one of the trades, and I said if we break below this blue vector, don't take a long position. We've broken below, so don't take it. Link was another trade in that video, and the entry range was here. We're approaching the invalidation zone, so there was no strong bounce out of the entry range. There was no reason to enter, and you can see this close to the invalidation, would not be entering on this either. So all of them pretty much look like this. So just know I'm always going to be that kind of channel that gives a potential trade setup, but I'm also going to tell you the invalidation zones, and if you get involved anyway, that's on you, but you really need to pay attention to these. All right guys, that's it for me. I'm going to make this a short one because I'm not feeling the best, but if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget, if you're wanting to learn to trade, the link is in the description of the video. You can come and join the private community, and if you're looking for somewhere to trade on, there are exchange links that offer you 20% trading fee rebates in the description of the video down below. See you on the next one.